Miss Kamla, we have questions. And until you answer truthfully, we do not want to hear from you. But there's a woman we want to hear from tonight, though. When she looks their way, they hang their heads in shame. When she stands, they quiver with fear. Well, when she starts to talk, oh Lord, is truth, facts, and what up? She too started as a PNM senator. She then served as a member of parliament for Aruka South, and she currently serves as the member of parliament for Aruka Maloney. The Minister of Planning and Development, the Lady Vice Chairman of the People's National Movement, the most electrifying female platform presenter that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Tunapuna the Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis.
Yeah, we're ready. 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 We're ready. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. 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 Ready.
Thank you very kindly, Laurel Lizama Leasing, political leader of the People's National Movement, Honorable Keith Rowley, members of Parliament of the PNM, officers of this movement, candidates for Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, and any other candidates who are here, my colleagues on the rostrum, Honorable Terence Dial Singh, and Honorable, what's your name again? Honorable Esmond Ford, Deputy Speaker of the Parliament. That's what I call him all the time, Deputy Speaker. I don't remember his name anymore. Ladies and gentlemen of the only true political party in Trinidad and Tobago, tonight I am here to address you on truth and on facts. And ladies and gentlemen, let me say that I am not here to talk about local government at all. I am here to talk about a situation that has developed in Trinidad and Tobago that we cannot allow to continue. I have a message for the opposition leader, and I think this is the right forum, not forum, in which to give this message. First of all, I want to tell her, stop obsessing about the PNM. The PNM is already 63 years old, and we have had Prime Minister Eric Williams. We have had Prime Minister George Chambers. We have had Prime Minister Patrick Manning. And now we have Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley. And let me say to her tonight that after December the 2nd, she will know licks from the east, west, north, and south, because we're not making joke in this election. And this election is the precursor to the licks that they're going to get whenever a general election is called. Ladies and gentlemen, coming after their failure to adequately respond to the 2020 budget presented by our Minister of Finance, the UNC, as they have always been, is desperate for something to say about this government, desperate for a scandal. And we know that their current behavior is clearly out of the Cambridge Analytica playbook. So we're not surprised by their race baiting, their rumor mongering, their dissemination of fake news, everything to distract the population from the truth. But let me tell her and the UNC, like the perfumed and powdered ladies of the night, Nothing could hide us from who they are. We know them. We experienced them from 2010 to 2015. We know them well. And ladies and gentlemen, you would recognize that their only line of attack is Darrell Smith. First of all, I want to say that when the issues came up surrounding Darrell Smith, our Prime Minister did the right thing. He fired Darrell Smith from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. That was what he was supposed to do, and he did it. But ladies and gentlemen, one thing that my mother always told me when I was growing up is people who live in glass houses must not throw stones. So I will tell the UNC to keep quiet about Darrell Smith. Keep quiet. And why am I telling them to keep quiet? I would tell them that their track record is less than stellar. I am not a petty woman, so I won't mention all the unmentionables that we could talk about relating to the UNC. But I want to ask a question. If we were to talk about leadership, who is Kamala really fooling? Why does Kamala feel that after she damaged the people of Trinidad and Tobago between 2010 and 2015, that we will want to take her back? She led this country as though she was stumbling into a rum shop. Ladies and gentlemen, we are clear. She cannot lead anyone or anything to success. And let me break it down for you. What is leadership? Bernard Montgomery said, and I quote, "Leadership is the capacity and will to rally people to a common purpose together with the character that inspires confidence and trust." End of quote. Who is a true leader, ladies and gentlemen? Not Keith Rowley. The UNC leader lacks the fortitude to embody the ideals of leadership. And the UNC needs to learn some leadership styles from the PNM. Because whilst our political leader is intelligent, insightful, and innovative, a true leader, okay, if you want me to say that, and handsome. Meanwhile, he blushing? Meanwhile, Kamala is incompetent, incapable, intoxicated with her lust for power. We are proud to have Keith Rowley, who is an innovative leader, because innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. On countless occasions, Kamala Persad-Bissessar has proven to lack moral judgment on many, many issues. I just want to remind you that Kamala has said that she is back with Anil Roberts. He is her brother. And I want to quote again from Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 5:11. And it says, "But actually, I wrote to you not to associate with any so-called brother if he is an immoral person, or covetous, or an idolater, or a reviler, or a drunkard, or a swindler, not even to eat with such a one." That is what the good book tells us. And ladies and gentlemen, I am asking you if you remember the damage that was done to the Dabadi O'Meara constituency. People are still reeling from that damage. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the person that Kamla Prasad Bisesa has brought back and said, this is her brother. I want to ask you if you remember that there is a woman still in hiding because of what was done during live sport. You all remember that? And tonight, I am asking the commissioner to try and ensure and find out what is happening with that particular woman. She is still in hiding. And I want to remind you, isn't it the same Annie Roberts that caused Gary Griffiths, when he was a minister, to be fired? I am asking you tonight, it is Kamla who said that blood will flow in this country. And flow it did. But ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I really want to talk about tonight is the issue of sexual misconduct. One of the things that your PNM education has taught you is how to think critically, how to analyze information, how to arrive at conclusions based on all the information to which you have access. And whilst I know the answer, I want to ask you a few questions tonight, and I go back to the issue of leadership. In a moment of crisis, who would you prefer to have leading this country? Kamla or Keith Rowley? When decisive action needs to be taken, who do you think will act faster, Kamla or Rowley? When it comes to taking decisions that put country before party, who is likely to do that? Yes, Keith Christopher Rowley. And I ask you those questions, ladies and gentlemen, because at all times, we must remember the difference between Dr. Keith Rowley as a leader and Kamla Prasad Bisesa as a leader. And I ask these questions because I want to go now into some issues that I must remind you of. I have said tonight that the only thing that they're talking about now is Darrell Smith. And I want to remind you that the men of the UNC have no behavior. And they were leveled with a series of allegations. And I ask you again, are these the people that you want to lead you in this country? I want you to remember, you remember Dr. Glenn Ramadasing? It seems as though, and I refer all of you to an article which was published on March 20th, 2014. And the headline was, Glenn in doghouse for trying to vet Carl stewardess. And the article said, Minister of the People Glenn Ramadasing found himself in the doghouse today after the Trinidad Express revealed that the MP allegedly threatened a 25-year-old Carl flight attendant after a flight from Tobago earlier this month. Ramadasing, according to a report lodged with the Police and Airports Authority, appeared intoxicated and was uncooperative and rude on the flight. Flight attendant Ronell Laidlaw, also claimed that the minister brushed his hand against her left breast while reaching for her name tag before telling her that her days were numbered. Ladies and gentlemen, you would think that if somebody does something once, it might have been an accident. But when it happens a second time, you have to start watching that person cocky eye, right? And you feel it's a habit. Now, I want to remind you that in his role as Minister of the People, Ramadan Singh was also in the habit of frequently meeting people. And as I said before in a Rima, in order for you to get help from him, you had to go down on your knees and swallow more than your pride. In fact, in a Sunday Express article, this is what a young lady had to say as she reported an incident that occurred between herself and Dr. Ramadan Singh when she went to seek his assistance for a house. She ended up getting more than she bargained for. And I'm quoting. He said, okay, because she went to his office and he said he didn't have much time. He said, okay, come quickly. And she goes on to say, as soon as the door was closed, he gave me a hug and kissed me on my cheek and then on my lips. I was shocked. The minister then pushed his hands down my bodysuit and began touching my breast. I was trying to tell him that I needed help to get an HDC house and a food card. The minister then told me to, and in brackets they say sex act specified. I am not going to lie, I did it. When I left the office, I could not even speak to my mother. When I went back outside, I stayed quiet until I got home. Glenn Ramadan Singh was eventually fired on March 24th, 2014. But you think that was it? Glenn is now the chairman of the Siparia Regional Corporation, appointed by Kamla Prasad Bisesa. In fact, from being a demoted minister, he has now been promoted to chairman of a regional corporation. Promotion after all these things happen. And Kamla wants to tell us about how we must behave and want to tell our political leader and prime minister that he should resign. Look, Kamla, let me also tell you, and that wasn't it, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to compare apples with apples. Compare the actions of Kamla with Dr. Keith Rowley. Let me tell you something. There was another report dated August 8th, 2011, carried in the local newspapers, which cites the dismissal of not a government minister for allegedly engaging in inappropriate sexual conduct, but this time the victim, hear me clearly, the victim of alleged sexual harassment was fired. You all remember Dawn Anamantodo? She was the chairman of the board of the National Dietary Services and therefore responsible for the school feeding program. She was fired from the board after her husband wrote to Kamla Prasad Bisesa claiming that his wife was the victim of sexual harassment allegedly by the then Minister of Education, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh. So instead of firing Tim, our first female prime minister fired the victim instead of investigating what happened. Tim's still in the parliament. You all know that, right? And that wasn't all, eh? You all remember Delman Baker? In March 2014, allegations of sexual misconduct were raised against Tobago Development Minister, Dr. Delman Baker. Like these doctors like this thing, boy. His accuser, the medical doctors, all right, I explained it, eh? Not the geologists, not those doctors. The medical doctors and the doctors who take care of animals, right? I could go ahead now? Dr. Rowley, I could go ahead? I will repeat. Delman Baker, a medical doctor. In March 2014, allegations of sexual misconduct are raised against Tobago Development Minister, Dr. Delman Baker. His accuser claims that Baker abused his trust and sexually assaulted him twice. Him, eh? Him. Y'all remember Nipplegate? Right. Dr. Delman Baker was accused of sexually assaulting a gentleman. And I want to ask you all another question. You all remember slapping Sharma? In March 2014, like they like March, Chandra Sharma, and you all know that he was supposed to be a pundit, right? Chandra Sharma allegedly abused his ex-girlfriend in a car park, slapping the woman to the ground. And let me just say, at this same time, he was a married man, eh? All right. I want to ask you all a question. After all this abuse under Kamala, you could believe that Kamala calling on our Prime Minister, who acted immediately when allegations were raised, and this has not yet been proven, but all of these things came out in the newspapers and otherwise. Up to now, all Kamala did was fire these people. And I want you all to know something. I know of an incident that took place where a woman was allegedly abused by a government minister between 2010 and 2015. And that woman went to an attorney at law for them to take the case. And the attorney at law was going to take the case. And then we understand that mysteriously this woman was given a house. And as a consequence of that, the case never went forward. I want to ask Kamala if she remembers that incident that she's not talking about. Because the person did not agree to the sexual misconduct or the sexual conduct that she was being asked to do, she was given a house to shut her up. I want to ask Kamala tonight if she knows about that. Come, Kamala, tell us if you know about that. And ladies and gentlemen, whilst all of this was taking taking place, Kamala, the first female prime minister, never asked for a policy on sexual harassment. Never one day. Quite to the contrary, our prime minister asked the Minister of Labor to produce a policy on sexual harassment. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the document here. This is the document, the policy on sexual harassment. And let me just give you a few pointers. And this was done by our Minister of Labor, Jennifer Baptiste Primus. And let me say, the government national workplace policy on sexual harassment in Trinidad and Tobago was laid in the Parliament in March 2019. Kamala, where your policy? Nearly your whole cabinet was there running down, man and woman, and you never asked for a policy. The National Workplace Policy on Sexual Harassment in Trinidad and Tobago is closely aligned to the thematic areas of the Vision 2030. The policy is also closely aligned with Goal 8 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and that promotes sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. The policy which is laid in the Parliament is in congruence with modern industrial relations practices. The policy was developed by the Minister and the Ministry of Labor and Small Enterprise Development at the insistence of the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And it was drafted after stakeholder consultations, one on June 1st, 2018 in Trinidad, and the other on June 22nd, 2018 in Tobago. The key objective of the consultation was to generate public discussion and awareness and to gain an input from key stakeholders, trade union bodies, employer bodies, academia, non-governmental organizations, ministries, industrial relations practitioners, university students, and the International Labour Organization. All these stakeholders were asked to participate in these consultations. And they got actual participation, and they also received written comments. And ladies and gentlemen, the scope of the policy is that in addition to defining sexual harassment in the workplace, it also includes types of sexual harassment, its effects, current avenues for redress, roles and responsibilities of government and other stakeholders, and provides guidelines with respect to the handling of complaints. The policy also advocates for legislation which will contain provisions to address and prevent sexual harassment offenses, impose fines and penalties, widen the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Labor to include, and the Industrial Court, to allow it to deal with redress for sexual harassment, and create structures to institute labor-related administrative procedures. So whereas the first female prime minister allowed Glenn to grab, allowed Tim to stay as a minister, allowed Delman to, anyway, before I get in trouble, allowed Delman to nibble and allowed each and every one of them to do all manner of things, and never one day asked for a policy and legislation on sexual harassment. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the difference between a real leader and a pretend leader. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that you understand what needs to be done on December 2nd. It is clear that all they have to say in relation to us, in relation to this almost five-year period, is nothing of consequence. Because, as Dr. Rowley himself has said, there is no way that they could pin any corruption, any misbehavior in public office, any disrespect of the people of Trinidad and Tobago on this Keith Rowley-led administration. There is nothing that they can say with any measure of truth that was done to disrespect the people of Trinidad and Tobago under the Keith Rowley-led administration. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as I come to a close, they make me really hot when they start by talking the political leader, when they start by talking the PNM, because all they know to do is lies, lies, and more lies. And let me tell you all, ladies and gentlemen, what you have to do come December 2nd. You have to put them to lie flat. You have to put them to lie beneath your feet. You have to walk on them on December 2nd. You have to make sure all our candidates for the Tunapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation win their seats, and win their seats handsomely. Because I want to remind you that when we count the votes, remember, to get the aldermen, you must have a certain percentage of the votes. So you have to go out and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement. And that is the only way that we can say with one accord that great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail. Thank you.
Yeah, we're ready.